Matt and Mark Justice from Tackle Trading, bringing you all the charts, the news, the analysis in just a few minutes so you can be well informed for your entire trading today. Micron in the news, China stimulating, Matt. Markets gapped up, having a hard time holding a bid. Let's get to the technicals, break them down for us.
Yeah, and when you're looking at the market here today, market got a little bit of positive news on the overnight action as you got Micron gapping up on a positive earnings, ACN, another AI name gapping up on a positive earnings, Starbucks getting a little bit of an upgrade on the overnight action. Then obviously you have a little bit of Chinese follow through on their massive bazooka stimulus they did from yesterday morning and the day before. So you had a little bit of bullishness coming in from the overnight action in the actual ES, as you can see. Whenever you do go to the futures market, you don't have to look at those gapping type situations. You can see how the market just kind of tested above that 5,800 number fairly aggressively. You come over here to the intraday side of the equation. And when you look at that intraday, you just see that kind of over here, right around the time when about a couple hours into the Asian markets, right here on the European Open, you saw that breakout and kind of went up, 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 up. But a nasty cash open here that has really kind of sent the market back down. So you saw that overnight action happening on the futures, and now you're coming right back down into that breakout channel. So it's a little bit of a negative cash open here when you're looking at the S&P 500. You had a little bit of a gap on the overnight action coming through some of the earnings reports there as well. Economically, we'll talk about some of those economic reports, but pretty much in line, maybe slight beats there as well. So a little bit of a nasty open following a gap up, coming right back down into the range. And so when you look at this from a technical perspective, you definitely want to see it hold here right around this 571. Obviously, the futures contract is going to show it a heck of a lot better than an ETF does. But in Tackle Today, we typically look at the ETF route. So when you look at this, you just want it to hold somewhere around that 571 level. But a good gap, nasty sell-off at the cash open created a little bit of volatility here today in the S&P 500. When you look at the other indexes, you don't really see anything. Obviously, a lot of the price movement happening on the overnight was happening in the tech areas of the market, some of the cyclical commodity areas of the market as well. But from an RSP perspective, that's still kind of hovering here in a little bit of a high base pattern. Looks pretty good on that high base. Kissed off the 90 MA yesterday on a little bit of a sell-off day yesterday. Obviously, the Qs had a little bit of a better day, but you're seeing that sell-off very similar to what we're seeing in the S&P 500. And then on IWM here, interesting technical patterns, a little bit of separation on IWM recently as we're forming high bases and almost everything else in the market. Here we're forming a little bit of a flag pullback going into a really clean multiple time frame level at 225. I'd be treating that as a little bit of a front running flag type situation, but ultimately the breakout is absolutely warranted from increasing bias perspective when it comes to the small and the mid cap areas of the market.
Yeah, no, one of the things I always look when the broad market's selling off, what is RSP doing? The intraday action on RSP, it's not really moving that much, which is,
But I
let's
don't want to say selling off since we haven't sold off. We're up on the day. You know what I mean? We're
yeah,
selling off the intraday on a cash open.
yeah, but no selling, no intraday pressure on your average stock. It seems like the intraday pressure is tech focused. We had economic news come out. We had quite a bit of economic news come out actually this morning. GDP final print came in right in line with expectations. The final GDP number, as recorded for the third quarter, will be 3%. Healthy number. Positive numbers. We've had a little bit of mixed data early in the week with some negative numbers on consumer confidence. Uh, Today was all on the soft landing, things are good side. Unemployment claims actually beat expectation. Durable goods and core durable goods beat expectation. It was a positive mix of data. No narrative forming this week, though, Matt, as we head into labor market news next week. Any thoughts on the economic news?
No, it all came in line.
Yeah, stocks in the news. What do you have for us?
Yeah, I got a couple stocks in the news here today. First and foremost, Micron, ACN in the earnings side of the equation. Starbucks got an upgrade as well. Micron was really kind of the report of the week that we were anchoring against. It was one of the bigger reports of the week. Even though ACN's a bigger company than Micron, I do think Micron's a little bit more important to the AI conversation, especially from a memory perspective. But don't sleep on ACN. They're a AI watch list name as well, and both of them came out with pretty good numbers. Micron, I would say, came out with a little bit of a better upgrade on their guidance side of the equation, but you also had a 3% increase in the midpoint of ACNs. And so mixed numbers, I would say, on ACN. Micron, a little bit of a better numbers, but the guidance on Micron really stood out here. 10% increase in the revenue guidance, 40% increase in the EPS guidance. Those are from midpoints this quarter to the midpoint of where they expect to go. So you had a pretty good upgrade on guidance side of the equation with Micron. ACN, a little bit less of an increase in guidance, but still a really good report out of both ACN and Micron. And both of those stocks are on the AI watch list as well. On Starbucks, just simply got another upgrade, and that upgrade comes from Bernstein, as Bernstein basically is looking at the new CEO and saying the new CEO is going to be better than the old CEO, and that's about as extensive as the upgrade warranted, quite frankly. And so when you look at these things from a technical perspective, stocks in the news today, you got to like Micron's potential reversal, but with the earnings gap and the selling off after the earnings gap here today, meaning you gapped up, but you started selling down in the from an intraday perspective, you would want to see a secondary pattern here. There's no doubt about that. You gapped above that 110 overhead resistance level. And so you want to see it hold these support levels as it does test a little bit lower following a pretty good gap up. So a gap up, sell down, that looks a little bit like an exhaustion gap. When you look at ACN here, a little bit of a spinner doji as it did gap up into a known level of resistance. You would certainly want to see that get dialed in as well. Dialed in simply means a secondary pattern following some degree of overextended type environment, whether that is created from a gapping perspective or a momentum perspective. Both ACN and Micron gapped up, but we haven't ran away from the gap. You would want to see secondary patterns set up in both of those stocks. And then on Starbucks just got a good little news out of the upgrade out of Bernstein. Obviously, this is a new CEO type thing. The old CEO went away. Look what the gap did on the old CEO. So this is all about the new CEO being better than the old CEO. And now you're talking about $100 resistance test, which is a very important resistance level as well. But that's all we got for stocks in the news here today.
Yeah, getting over to commodities. Oil selling off a little bit on a report from the Financial Times that's been unconfirmed out of OPEC that they're actually going to start increasing production again. We've seen those kind of reports before. Gold, silver, keep chugging along. Break down the charts for us, Matt.
Yeah, crude oil, that news doesn't surprise me. Saudi Arabia doesn't have your back right now in crude oil. And ever since they said that all the way back here in June, oil's been a choppy, volatile ride. And it just continues here today. Last 2 days, pretty nasty 2 days. And it reminds me of what Coach Greg said in the Traders Report and in Rapid Fire last week. He was talking about, yeah, you can't really look that aggressive at energy. It's still bearish. And so we shouldn't be surprised with this downward movement in price in crude oil, quite frankly. When you do look at the other commodity side of the equation, obviously the precious metals, the industrial metals, gold showing a little bit of overextended slowing momentum in trend. And that doesn't surprise me with the significant whole number at 2,700. This market has loved significant whole numbers for one reason or the other. So I'm not too surprised that we're seeing a little bit of development in an overextended condition at 2,700 at that on gold. When you look at this silver chart, silver's starting to look really good in its development at its overhead resistance level. 2 days in development of a consolidation period. You'd just like to see that get dialed in a little bit more while that 9 EMA catches up to it. And when I'm talking about those types of things, you're really looking at the potential breakout here, and you're trying to determine, okay, what pattern do you want to see going into that very important multiple time frame breakout. And then on the copper side of the equation, yet again, just another really, really good day. Copper doesn't want to simmer down or slow down, and that shows you kind of what the overriding story is that's impacting the market here today, and it still is China, in my opinion.
Yeah, China's been just very relentless all week long in putting out news saying like, listen, this is not, we are committed, we are committed, we are committed. Well, I'll tell you who else is committed. We are committed to our community at Tackle Trading. We love it. We give it all. We're in the Traders Lounge. Our reports are nightly shows. It is amazing community, and you have a set of coaches who give it them all. Give us a try. 15-day free trial. Go to tackletrading.com.